You ready for this? Joseph has two separate dreams. Dreams, slavery, deception, another wild passage of scripture. My name is Michael. Thanks for joining us. Bible in a Year. Today's reading is Genesis 37 through 39, and we're introduced to Joseph. He's one of my favorite characters in the whole Bible. There's so much to learn from his story, so much wisdom, so much truth, and it's a very interesting read. We start off learning that Joseph is just 17 years old, and he's Israel's youngest son. Remember that Israel was renamed from Jacob. In fact, the nation of Israel, this is kind of a bonus points, the nation of Israel all comes from Jacob. It all comes from Israel himself, and Joseph is the youngest son. And immediately we find something interesting about Joseph. It says in verse 3, chapter 37, "Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was the son in his old age." This is a weird thing, that a father would love a son more than any of his other sons. And I would imagine that that creates some tension between Joseph and the other brothers. But then two more unique things happen that even causes a greater divide. You ready for this? Joseph has two separate dreams. And in these two dreams, people bow down to him. He's raised up, and they're somewhat controversial. In fact, they make Joseph's brothers so mad, so angry, that they sell him into slavery in Egypt. They fake his death, and then Jacob is totally mourning. He's totally weeping, and it's a crazy series of events. One thing that's interesting in this passage of scripture, it's the first time in the whole Bible where we get this, it's illuminated to us that God speaks to us in the context of dreams. The very first time that God speaks to anybody in a dream is right here in Genesis chapter 37. It's partly the reason why I love the book of Genesis, is because there's so much new revelation. There's so many new things to be learned. Remember, we have to understand about reading the Bible as it's not a story of Joseph, Jacob, or Abram. It's not a story of Cain, Abel, and Adam. It's a story about God. One thing that we've learned from chapter 37 is that God speaks to us, and one of the ways is he speaks to us in dreams. Here's what Joseph did wrong. He went to the wrong people. He has a dream from God, and he goes to people who already have some contempt for him, who already know he's the favorite. There's already a chip on their shoulder for him. And Joseph says, "Hey, here's my dreams. One day you're going to bow down to me." Imagine how they would take that. There's some immaturity on Joseph's part for sure. The nice thing is that all of it is going to be redeemed. It's not really about how you start, but in the kingdom, it's about how you finish. And here's one thing, one piece of wisdom that I would say is from Genesis 37. So when God speaks to you, go to the right person. Tell the right person. When God gives you a dream, don't just go to anybody with a dream. Go to a trusted man or woman with discernment, a pastor, a leader, somebody that is going to hear God on your behalf, going to discern the dream wisely, and don't just go to anybody. The second thing that we can learn from is we got to put these dreams against the Bible. Here's what that means. When God speaks to you, ask yourself, is this in the character and nature of God, or is this outside something that God would say? I've had people come to me before and they say, Michael, God spoke this to me. And immediately I'm like, that's not within the character of how God would speak. We don't find that type of speaking in the Bible. I'm not actually sure that that's from God. Here's the fact of the matter. When God speaks to you, ask yourself, through reading the text, is this something that God would speak? Is this within the character and nature and voice of God? And then take it to a trusted source, somebody that can also discern the dream or discern the word from God for you. Take it to someone trusted. Hey, this is an incredible passage of scripture today. Make sure you read it. If you missed yesterday, check out this video. We'll see you next time.